Elisabeth Braw is a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. She joins me now live from Washington, D.C. Good to see you. Now, certainly over the past few weeks, we have seen a significant increase when it comes to Ukrainian attacks on Russian-controlled areas. Does it perhaps indicate that the highly anticipated Ukrainian counteroffensive has begun?
Well, it looks like part of some sort of counterstrike, but we should remember that we are not sure who's behind exactly all of these attacks on Russian territory. Some have been conducted by, as we now know, by Russian groups that sympathize with Ukraine. Some we don't know, and some are likely to have been conducted by some sort of Ukrainian entity. But the point is, I think, that at this point where the counteroffensive is about to begin in Ukraine itself, Ukraine may in fact feel that regardless of how that counteroffensive goes, if people at home in Russia, if they don't feel the pain from this war, it will just keep dragging on, and Ukraine's counteroffensive will be followed by another Russian offensive, and so on and so on, and nothing will ever change in any significance to any significant extent.
How do you think Russia is likely to respond to these attacks?
So we should remember that what President Putin promised the Russian population, the Russian public, when Russia invaded was essentially a painless war. There was the talk of, as we all know, of Ukraine being taken within days, and Russia, as we now know, hadn't planned for a long war. And the reason that President Putin wanted to do it that way, and he even calls it still a special military operation, not a war, was that actually war is a big pain. And it causes a lot of suffering for civilians, including in the country that is the aggressor. So he obviously didn't want to sell pain and suffering to the Russian public, knowing that they would not be likely to support his war if that's what he sold them. So he has to keep this as painless as possible, which is why it makes sense for whoever is conducting these strikes on Russia to keep doing it, because that drives home to the Russian public that this is not without pain for you.
Fascinating insights into the topic. Elisabeth Braw, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.